Did you know that some of history's greatest civilizations, like the Maya and Mesopotamians, collapsed not from war, but from climate change? What if their downfall is a warning for our future? Let me show you how their stories could shape the way we fight climate disasters today. When you think of climate change, what comes to mind? Melting glaciers, rising sea levels, or record-breaking heat waves. But the truth is, this story began long before we even discovered fossil fuels. Climate change has been a silent architect in shaping human history for millennia, erasing entire civilizations as if they never existed. And yet, we rarely talk about it. Why? Let's take a journey through time. We'll explore the downfall of Mesopotamia, the collapse of the Maya, and the abandonment of Viking Greenland. These weren't random events. They were predictable responses to environmental stress. Each society reached a tipping point, where nature pushed back harder than they could adapt. But here's the twist. Our story isn't just about the past. It's about what their failures can teach us today. Are we doomed to repeat their mistakes? Or can we learn to outsmart the patterns of history? Let's find out. Our story begins in Mesopotamia, a land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, often called the cradle of civilization. This region was home to the Akkadian Empire, the first true empire in human history. For centuries it flourished, its cities humming with trade, innovation, and culture. But then something extraordinary happened. Around 2200 BCE, climate shifts triggered a devastating drought. Imagine the lifeline of your civilization, the rivers you depend on, drying up. Crops failed, famine spread, and people fled their cities in search of water and food. Archaeological evidence shows that entire urban centers were abandoned, leaving behind only ruins and unanswered questions. The Akkadian rulers had warnings: erratic rainfall, declining crop yields, and unrest in the countryside. But like many of us today, they assumed their ingenuity could overcome nature. Instead, their empire crumbled into history's forgotten chapters. The lesson? When the environment changes, so must we, or we risk becoming relics ourselves. Next, let's move to the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, home to the Maya civilization. For over 1,000 years, they built magnificent cities like Tikal and Chichen Itza, creating one of the most advanced societies of their time. But beneath the grandeur of their pyramids and astronomy lay a fragile system deeply dependent on water. Starting around 800 CE, the region faced a prolonged megadrought, one of the worst in 2,000 years. Without consistent rainfall, their elaborate reservoirs ran dry. Agriculture collapsed, and with it, the food supply for millions. What followed was chaos: wars over resources, mass migrations, and the abandonment of once thriving cities. The Maya's fate wasn't sealed by drought alone. Their deforestation practices aimed at expanding farmland worsened the environmental crisis by disrupting rainfall patterns. It's a chilling reminder of how even the best engineered societies can unintentionally contribute to their own downfall. The question is, are we doing the same today? Not all climate disasters are about heat. Between the 14th and 19th centuries, the Earth experienced a period of cooling known as the Little Ice Age. It might sound insignificant, just a few degrees colder on average, but those few degrees reshaped the world in profound ways. Shorter growing seasons led to widespread famine across Europe. Starving populations rebelled against their rulers, sparking uprisings that toppled kingdoms. Even the Viking settlers in Greenland, once thriving farmers, abandoned their colonies as the icy grip made survival impossible. But the Little Ice Age also teaches us resilience. While some societies faltered, others adapted. In Japan, farmers developed new rice strains suited to cooler climates. In Europe, the crisis sparked innovation in agriculture and trade. This era reminds us that climate crises can be a crucible for ingenuity if we're willing to adapt. Fast forward to today. The climate challenges faced by the Akkadians, the Maya, and the Vikings are no longer isolated events. Rising sea levels threaten entire nations. Prolonged droughts in places like California mirror those that toppled ancient empires. Floods and heat waves are displacing millions, creating a modern migration crisis. The difference? We have technology. Satellites warn us about droughts before they happen. Renewable energy offers alternatives to fossil fuels. But here's the harsh reality. Having tools doesn't guarantee we'll use them. Ancient civilizations also had solutions. irrigation systems, water reservoirs, but they failed to act in time. The question is, will we? The stakes are higher than ever, and unlike the Akkadians or the Maya, this isn't just about one region. It's about the survival of an interconnected planet. History poses a powerful question. Are we doomed to repeat it? Some argue that human ingenuity, AI, renewable energy, geoengineering will save us from climate catastrophe. Others warn that without systemic changes in how we live and consume, we're only delaying the inevitable. But there's one undeniable truth. Nature doesn't negotiate. The civilizations we've explored today all shared one fatal flaw. They assumed they could conquer the environment. Instead, it conquered them. We face the same challenge, but with one crucial difference: hindsight. So, what do you think? Are we capable of learning from history, or are we simply rewriting the same tragic story on a global scale? Let me know in the comments below, because this debate might just define our future.